Alrighty, y'all. Hello. You're going to want to buckle up for this one, although maybe not, because we might not be going far. We're talking about vehicle quality, the insane prices, and just the overall, well, circus that is new cars in the U.S. It's at an all-time low, I feel like, in quality and at an all-time high in bad luck, you could say. All-time high in recalls, all-time high in purchase price as well. So you're paying a lot for cars that aren't that great. And there's a severe lack of cheap vehicles here. Cheap, simple, economy-minded work trucks aren't a thing anymore. Cheap little sedans and hatchbacks aren't a thing anymore, at least here in the U.S. Now I see that in even neighboring countries like Mexico and, Central American countries, obviously as far away as Europe and, lots of countries around there seem to be still some cheaper options and some simple cars you can get for, let's say, affordable prices. But here, it's just bigger vehicles with bigger price tags. And if you don't believe me, well, let's have a look. All right, so 2024 GMC Acadia. So like a larger size crossover SUV. Transmission failed at 950 miles. Boy, setting records out here. Not even past the break-in period. I think GMC, or this car in particular, mistook it for the break period. Have it break within 1,000 miles. This is absolutely crazy. And I'll get into how this is a modern trend. I'm not going to do any brand shaming in this. I have an older GMC. It's actually really reliable. I'll get more into that in just a moment, but I'm glad I don't have a newer one. This is absolutely crazy.
We just bought this all-new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe, and after only 27 miles, the transmission's already giving us issues. You can actually hear the issue.
As you could probably hear...
What was that banging noise, right?
You can actually hear the issue.
Wow. Did it totally eat the torque converter right up, like brand new?
As you could probably hear,
I wonder if they're sure, 27 miles. Are they serious? Not 2,700 miles, 27? My God.
From a stop, it feels like the transmission isn't engaging properly and is slipping. So we're off to the dealership to see what's up.
Well, guys, it's been about a week later, and Hyundai did get back to us, and they said that it needs a full transmission replacement to fix whatever the issue is. Now, they've had a ton of vehicle technicians in and out of the vehicle from Hyundai Corporate to try and figure out what may be wrong with this, because obviously this is one of the first new Santa Fe's out there, and they don't want this issue repeated on other units.
Well, hopefully it's not a big issue, although I fear it might be more than one. Going to the comments, after 27 miles, damn, that's got to be a record or something. 2022 Santa Fe owner, transmission went on mine at 22,000 miles. That's why you buy a Toyota or Honda. I would generally agree, although that's not even safe anymore. I'm a firm believer that, yes, 15 to 20-year-old Toyotas and Hondas are about as dependable and cars you can count on as you can get. But even they have seemed, at least here again, to have fallen by the wayside. You'll see more on that in a little bit as well. Brought my Kia in for a failed engine, and my car was put in a lot with hundreds of others waiting to get serviced. Wow. Yeah, see, that's not a fun club to be part of, right? Again, I mean, this is just embarrassing, right? I don't know how they can... people still flock to buy Hyundais and Kias, and like I said, I won't judge people, but they seem to have a lot of issues, and this is not even new. They've had these issues for quite a few years. Not to mention they get stolen easily, and major component failures. I don't know how brands can survive this kind of thing and still get customers to come in and fork over $40,000 or $50,000. I think that's the crazy part. That's one thing I kind of will criticize. Is Hyundais and Kias used to be cheap, at least 15 years ago, right? At least you were, kind of rolling the dice on whether it would be quality or not, but at least it was, pretty cheap compared to the competition. Well, now I'm pretty sure they're way up there in price as well. I mean, if you pull up some Hyundai Santa Fe's, brand new 24s and 25s, I mean, $46,000, $39,000, $45,000, right? So high 30s to mid 40s. And again, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this was pricier cars were $45,000 or $39,000. That was kind of a pricey car. You know, cheaper cars or cheaper SUVs were 25 to 30 tops for like a top trim. You would expect to get a Hyundai SUV in the 20s all day, and now they're $45,000. Of course, everything that used to be 45 is now shifted up to, you know, $80,000. It's like everything doubled the price in the last 5 years. It seems it's kind of crazy. Brand new Denali, 300 miles in the break-in period again. Yeah, you don't have to be a expert motorhead or gearhead to know that that doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good at all. That is a motor that is on its way out.
Would you look at that?
And the sister car, Escalade, even more expensive. We'll show you the prices in just a sec.
Car is not perfect.
Just look at it.
Getting towed away.
Look at it.
You know, it's pretty kind of sad, and it's kind of crazy that someone could, you know, I wouldn't do it. Again, if you can wing this, more power to you. I'm amazed that people are willing to spend, you know, 80, 90, I think for Escalades over $100,000. And yeah, they're big, bold looking vehicles, no doubt about it. But my goodness, right? You imagine spending that kind of money, house money, and you're stuck on the side of the road getting this thing pulled onto a flatbed. I mean, that is inconvenient. It's embarrassing. And it's crazy. What do you do, right? Look at all the phone calls and emails and just worries you're going to have for the forthcoming future.
I mean, just get a look at that.
And it's a lot of examples. It's not one here and there. These engines are actually on recall. My 2023 Tahoe needed a new engine at 13,000 miles. It's currently waiting for a valve body at 32,000 miles. But at least I can check the engine recall while it's there, right? And everyone kind of feeling the same sentiment. Car prices have gone up and up and up. But the quality has just nosedived, right? It's kind of crazy. How do they justify all these price increases, but they have shortages and the things don't work and massive recalls, transmission failures, engine failures, and it's across tons of brands. It's not like one brand is doing this kind of highlighting themselves. This is across the whole industry. Of course, more brands. Here's Ford trucks. Yeah, these are supposed to be petrol engines, right? Gasoline engines, not diesels. You're not supposed to hear any clattering sound on this. None at all. These are Raptors. A very expensive truck, if you didn't know. Even the normal ones. Lincolns. Expeditions. Ford 3.5 liter. They advertise, right? High horsepower. You know, the EcoBoost, right? Some of these are turbocharged, you know, really fast, right? Well, I don't know how you're going to go fast when it sounds like that, because if you do, you might just grenade the engine that afternoon.
$96,000.
Look how expensive these are.
Raptor, and you don't even get a V8. And honestly, this isn't even Ford's biggest issue. At this Ford dealership,
I don't know about you. This is a cool SUV, right? Bronco looks like a fun, you know, lifestyle SUV, right? You could take the doors off like the Jeeps. You know, a fun vehicle to take to the beach and take, you know, on some trails, maybe in the mountains, right? Yeah, no doubt it looks like a fun truck. Now, it's not ugly, right? But it's not the best looking vehicle I've ever seen either. It certainly doesn't look like, you know, getting up to $100,000 money type of vehicle. It's basically a utility vehicle, right? Like they're not very luxurious at all. It's meant for, you know, off-roading, and it's rugged.
They have an Explorer that's
How are they charging this kind of money?
Days, and I'll show you that in a minute. Right
these
after
dealerships aren't even selling these.
$124,000 for this. It's just an F-150, but they add that aftermarket package. That
oh
Black
my
Ops
God.
is what they call it here. At GM, we were seeing, and even Ford, I saw a Black Widow package. Now this is a Black Ops package, which increased the price dramatically.
Gotta love that. The Black Widow trucks have been around for a while. There's overpriced package that gives you a lift and black wheels. You could do that yourself for much cheaper. If you insist on having a lifted truck, I could guarantee, as someone that's done it in the past, $2,000, $2,500, maybe $3,000 if you're feeling frisky. $3,000, get yourself a lift installed and get some custom wheels and tires. Okay, maybe another $2,000. There you go. But they want to charge you $20,000, $30,000 for that same package because the dealership did it. Makes a lot of sense.
In all reality, you're going to lose so much money because this does not actually increase the value of the vehicle. It's still an F-150. That's $124,000. And is that a 2023? Yes, it is. It's kind of what's to be expected considering it's been sitting here for, I think it was 300 and something days, so not quite as long as this Explorer. But let's go check the Explorer that's literally been here 505 days today.
And this is the issue we're running into now. So a lot of people have bought these crazy expensive vehicles, which I'm just so mind blown. I don't know how people even afford these. And then they're having issues. So that's a horrible problem. Then we also have, finally, it's kind of catching up where people are realizing, hey, these are too expensive. Hey, I don't want to risk spending, $90,000 for this vehicle, $100,000. And we have now dealerships all over the place with all this inventory, and they're not selling because, again, why would someone want to take a risk on an investment of these vehicles that are extremely overpriced? They're having lots of problems. People just don't like them that much. They're not worth that money. People might gladly take that Bronco in the beginning if it was $40,000, but it's not. It's almost $100,000. And so you have these new vehicles sitting and sitting and sitting. And I don't know how these dealerships do it either because they don't magically own these. They have to lease these from the manufacturers, and then that's why they have to sell them. So they're just losing money left and right with all these vehicles setting, as well as, ask me from experience, letting a vehicle sit, no matter how old it is bad. Vehicles have to be driven, go figure. Letting them sit and rot is just bad news. And so these, I wouldn't even want to purchase a new vehicle that's been sitting for 300, 400, 500 days, right? That's not a good scenario either. I feel like that's inviting potential for more problems. I remember when 100K was supercar money. Yeah, totally agree. 124K for a $57,000 truck. That's insane. Imagine how upside down you will be immediately. I totally agree. We'll be talking about that in just a few moments. The depreciation on these is terrible. And what I think is crazy is he's right. 124K for a $57,000 truck is wild because they added a package to it. I think $57,000 is wild, right? Again, an F-150, in my head, I feel like those were always, you could get really stripped down work trucks for mid 20,000s, and you could get like a nice fully loaded King Ranch F-150 for up to maybe close to the $50,000 mark, mid 40s, right? I don't know when this became normal for trucks to be 60 to 70 grand. And if you want the really fancy ones or the lifted ones, then they're close to 100 or in some cases past 100. It literally blows my mind beyond belief. I think it's unbelievable. I literally can't comprehend these prices. I don't even get it.
This shit is why I hate new cars. I go to reverse. Warning, 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 shift to park because there's a pole in front of me because they parked as close to the pole as possible. Look what it does when I go to put it in reverse. It automatically parks itself. Reverse. Go off the park. It parks itself. How I can't move the car because it's parking itself because of the light pole. Because of a sensor. This is stupid.
Yeah, that is new cars for you. Like the overload with sensors and cameras and stuff, like, again, sounds like on paper like it could be nice, right? But a lot of it in practice, because of bad quality control, bad parts and suppliers, there's just a whole slew of problems that happen. And this guy's trying to put it in reverse when there's a pole in front of him, not behind him. It's in front. So he's going to back away from the pole, but it won't let him do that. Is he just stuck there now? Like, how does he override that? You're in reverse. Why does it care what's in front of you? Exactly. Like, you're in reverse. If he was in drive, I get it. But he's in reverse trying to back away from the object. Nope, red alert, you can't move. And on the flip side, totally agree, all this new technology is making bad drivers too comfortable. That's the problem too, right? I feel like there's bad drivers. I could make a whole video on that. Like I've had so many, it's almost a daily occurrence now. Had so many bad people out on the road that do wild things.
I know cars are getting cheaper and cheaper. This
keyword, cars are getting more expensive. They're just being built cheaper and cheaper.
is a Ford with a 3.5 liter in it. That's the water pump down there, and that's plastic. This is a plastic water pump. Basically, any accessory on this engine is just plastic. And if you could tell, it already has a coolant leak. So,
well,
that's
of course.
just great.
Because plastic is real great at getting heated up really hot and then cooling off and then heated up and cycled, right? Especially plastic meeting aluminum or meeting metal. Oh, it's frustrating.
Now. It's just funny to me. I'm at this Ford dealership right now, and the most reliable car they have on their lot right now, it's in the back, and it's actually the Chevy Silverado. I kind of wonder what's wrong with it, but I probably already know. It's probably already the 4L60. But this one's actually fairly clean.
He's right.
The rockers are all
Those
there.
early 2000s trucks
bad.
are incredible. And again, ask me how I know. I have 3 old GM trucks, and they were dirt cheap. Not $100,000, not $50,000. One was $2,500, one was $3,400, and one was $3,500. So basically, 10 grand for 3 trucks that all have high miles. One has 175,000. One has 238,000. I just crossed over on the classic one. And one has 277,000 miles. That's a 2012 Chevy Silverado work truck. They don't even make those anymore. Basic, wind-up windows, manual locks, rubber floors, no carpet, durable vinyl seats. Everything's simple in it. It just runs and runs, and it has a V6.
This brand new Tesla Model Y, and what I don't like already is seeing this plastic from the factory between the bumper and the fender. Moving to the back. Check this out. This is what I don't like seeing when you get a brand new car. Just picked up this brand.
And see, some people might say, well, what's the big deal? Like, take that stuff off and, whatever. Well, yes and no. Like, it's not the end of the world if you have to peel off some plastic or whatever that should have been done at the factory. But it's kind of a little concerning. When you buy a new car, of course, this probably wasn't cheap either. And right away, you just see some kind of, again, embarrassing things. Like, if you are picking up a friend and they find, like, plastic sticking out like that, it's kind of like, dude, didn't you buy this new? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I don't know what that is. It's kind of humiliating, right? Like, you bought a new car and you have a car payment probably that's really high and high interest, because that's how it is nowadays. It feels like the cars aren't finished. There you go. I mean, Jeep Wranglers are so simple. They should be so easy to build. They can't even get the interior right on these things anymore. We had a Jeep Wrangler, a 2015. We don't have it anymore. That gave us 0 problems. It was honestly one of the most reliable vehicles we ever had. And it did not feel like this on the inside either. Like, what are they doing now? How is a 2015 better than a 2023? So I don't really see anything wrong with that glove box. They're just kind of, flying it open. But the rest of it was definitely a problem. Like, you see how loose everything is? Yeah, that's just bad.
Don't buy a new Jeep. Listen to the quality of these plastic parts. Do you see the giant bubble under the display?
Yeah. Oh my God. They're just pressing on it and it sounds like it's gonna crack in half.
The doors aren't so horrible.
At least they seem sort of more solid. It's just weird, right? Like, why does it just feels so cheap. In my opinion, if you wanted a cheap plasticky interior, just get a 15-year-old used car, right? Like, get a car for $5,000 and call it a day. Imagine spending like 40 grand or 50 grand and it feels like that inside.
What if you had 37 recalls the same day that you bought your brand new car? Well, that's exactly what happened to President Trump. The red Model S that was delivered by Elon Musk personally already has 37 recalls against it.
Wow.
Now, just some of the recalls on the
Do you see? That's embarrassing.
list for the Model S include airbags, potential problems with the power steering assist feature, faulty door handles, warped brake discs. The cars affected had trouble stopping and were speeding. Those are the things that are listed, at least in this article.
Jeez.
Y'all, this is an $80,000 car delivered to the President of the United States from the CEO of that company, and the recalls hadn't even been addressed yet.
Dude, that's what I mean. It feels like we're living in a movie over here. It's so weird. $80,000. That's such an expensive car. It has 37 recalls. And this is how it is with all the cars. It's craziness.
These are the top 10 most recalled auto brands of 2024, ranked by the number of units affected. And I bet at least a few of these results will surprise you. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Volkswagen, who issued 18 recalls this year, affecting 1,088,407 units.
Jeez.
Number 9, Hyundai, 25 recalls, affecting 1.1 million units.
Wow.
And they're followed closely by number 8, Kia, with 19 recalls, 1.21 million units.
Millions of cars
Toyota
from each brand.
7th place, believe it or not, with 1.22 million units
Wow.
affected
Even
across
Toyota.
16 recalls. Number 6, BMW,
Yeah.
36 recalls.
I heard Toyota's having
3 million units affected.
I heard Toyota's having massive troubles with some of their engines. Like they replaced the V8s on their trucks. Bad idea, because the new 6-cylinder they're putting in there is horrible. I heard. Like this is crazy. You can't even trust the go-to brands anymore.
Number 5, General Motors, 33 recalls, 1.87
Wow.
million units affected. And
remember, some of these recalls are straight up powertrain, like the whole engine. It's not gone. You know, gone are the days where a recall was just like a latch on your glove box or a faulty turn signal switch or something, right? Like these aren't little pieces in the interior or whatever. These are major recalls.
we have a big jump to Honda. 4th place, 18 recalls,
wow.
3.79 million units affected, which brings us to our top 3. Starting with Ford, who is probably happy since they've taken the top spot on this list for the last 3 years. 62 total recalls, 4.37 million units affected. Number 2, probably no surprise here, Stellantis, 67 total recalls affecting 4.72 million units. Those guys took an absolute beating this year, but they did manage to...
Almost 5 million cars in 1 year recalled.
Stay out of the top spot because number 1 is Tesla. 15 recalls, 5.13 million units affected. Now, I know the numbers are the numbers. I'm not going to argue with anyone there, but in Tesla's defense, I do believe most of their recalls were pretty simple over-the-air updates. Either way, let me know if any of these...
Fair point, probably for them, because electric, like their cars, EVs are, even though I'm not the biggest fan of them, I mean, they're so relatively simple in their construction compared to other cars, right? So I can't imagine, it's not like they went in for, you know, blown engines and stuff, right? Like obviously it's a different type of car. But still, that's pretty eye-opening or alarming. Not surprised by Toyota, they lost their touch. As a Honda tech, all I do is recalls every day. I mean, these are the brands that you were supposed to be able to trust. Toyota fanboys punching air right now. Yeah, some people swear by Toyota. Again, older Toyota, yes. Newer Toyota, they're not the same.
When did we stop making real cars and instead make them out of plastic with no frame whatsoever and sell them for insane prices? For example, take a look at this Hyundai right here. It's brand new 2024 and they have it priced out at $49,420
for a Hyundai. 50 grand, man.
It's absurd.
Because you know, on top of that, they're going to do dealer fees, they're going to do sales tax, they're going to do title and registration, they're going to do all these different things, and it's going to be probably 55, 56 by the time you're done signing the papers. And hopefully you won't be locked into a not ideal interest rate and, 84 months, 96 months at, $800-900 a month.
Little $50,000 gets you nowadays for a new car. So for the average price of 1 year's salary, you get the cheapest plastic interior and most unreliable vehicle known to man. It's like they've completely lost their minds with this. Who's buying a Hyundai or a Kia for over 50 grand these days? If we even look back to like 2018, these same exact models were selling for roughly...
I'm glad you mentioned this. This is what I was going to show. We're not going back to like 2002 to show like, oh, look how much everything's gone up in price. 2018 or 2019. That's literally yesterday. We all remember 2019 like it was yesterday. Things were almost half the price of what they are right now.
Half the price. It's like over the course
and the quality was better. The quality's bad now.
Years, Hyundai went from knowing their place to now being a luxury car brand. Basically, it's easy to imagine that in another 5 years or so, if this continues, a new Hyundai could cost well over $100,000. And the worst part is these cars, they age like milk.
Damn.
They do not last. I'm going to keep making these.
And then I want to talk about some depreciation, right? These Lincoln Navigator Ls, these, for one, you're already gambling with the engine. You just saw a clip of one of these rattling on startup, right? Second of all, you know, again, they're nice looking. They're very luxurious, I'm sure, but these are over $100,000, well over. These are $110,000, $120,000 brand new. And look at 4 years old, $37,000, $40,000, $41,000, right? Like these they drop like a rock in value. $42,000, right? Branded title, $43,000, $43,000, $44,000. I mean, only 50,000 miles on this, right? When this went for over $100K, it's crazy. Even minivans, right? Minivans used to be cheap. Now the Chrysler Pacificas are around $40,000 to $55,000 brand new. And again, you can get these a few years old for $14,000, right? For higher miles ones. And if you want something with under 100,000 miles, I mean, you can still get these for under 20 grand, maybe into the low 20s. So I don't know who would buy the new one, right? It's kind of crazy. So then to round it out, we're going to talk about the lack of cheap new cars, right? And so obviously, if you ask me, I think in the U.S. to even have a chance at this point, you have to do some research, see what you like, and try and buy a nicer used example of one, or find cars that were reliable 10 or 15 years ago and take your chance on a higher mile one if it checks out, right? And that's what I've done, and I've had great luck. I just can't fathom spending $70,000, $80,000 on these newer trucks. I can't fathom spending $35,000 to $50,000 on simple daily driver cars. Brand new. It just blows my mind. Now, one thing I constantly learn about in other countries is all the cheaper options, right? You have cheap diesel cars and small cars with small engines, and a lot of them may, you know, some of them may have problems, but some of them I've heard are pretty reliable, right? And there's a lot of brands overseas that we don't get here. I constantly see Europeans talking about, I believe it's Dacia or Dacias. Those seem kind of cool because they're pretty cheap and relatively decent quality, even though they're cheap, simple enough, and pretty reliable for most people, I've heard. And you can get those for like under 20,000 euros. I mean, if you look right here, this is on a UK website because they don't sell these here. But I mean, for, you know, just under 15,000 pounds, right? That's a cheap car, right? That's kind of cool. You know, yeah, they're not flashy, right? But look at these things; they're all cheap. And if it's reliable enough, right? If it doesn't blow the engine within the first 1,000 miles or the transmission, you're better than half the cars here. I mean, look at these. I still haven't found one over 20 grand. There's the first one, and it's the biggest one. So I like seeing brands like this. We used to have cheap cars here, and they're just non-existent anymore. And it's really frustrating to see other markets still have this. Why don't we have this here anymore? So if I pull up the cheapest cars in the U.S., this is the list. And keep in mind, these are cars that you will never see advertised. You'll never see these basically on dealer lots, because dealer lots here love to stock only fully loaded, fancy, expensive cars. Like it's been a thing nowadays versus they didn't used to do that. And so a Mitsubishi Mirage, this is how rare these are. I didn't even know they sold that here. I was aware they sold that years ago. I didn't know they still sold it here. Now, of course, it doesn't get good ratings. Even a cheap car, 39 MPG is kind of bad. Like I thought cheap, smaller cars in other markets like have been advertised as 50, 60 miles per gallon. At least it starts under 20 grand if you look right here. So I guess that's pretty good because I've never even heard of a car that cheap anymore. It's just the fact of this thing is going to be very, very cheap, almost too cheap. You know, the thing with this and the Nissan Versa, which is next here, the only other one sub 20, is these are going to be CVT here. Only the Versa you could get with a manual here in the U.S. but they're extremely rare. I heard that you have to special order those. They don't stock them on the dealer lots. And again, your fuel mileage is, I guess, good compared to trucks and stuff, but 30 to 35 is still kind of low, I feel like. I don't know what happened to, didn't we have cars in the 80s and 90s, even here in the U.S.? My old Honda Civic Si from 1989 was rated at like 40 miles per gallon. How come we're only getting 30 in these new cars? Like what? And a Mitsubishi Mirage, right? So these are all cheaper. These are the only ones you get. And keep in mind, I never, ever see these in traffic. And I never see these at dealer lots. If you go to the Nissan dealer, they're going to be not this, they might have Sentras, but they're going to be the fully loaded ones that are close to 30 grand. You see what I'm saying? They don't push the cheap stuff. Kia K4, I've actually never even heard of that. That's kind of interesting. That's pretty cheap, but again, you run the risk with these of many problems and recalls. Toyota Corolla, that's a good starting price. I didn't know they were that cheap, but again, it might be hard to find that. They'll probably stock the more expensive ones. Props to them for keeping it still relatively affordable. Now the Jetta, I've heard good things about. I was actually looking into these a few months ago. I never ended up getting one, of course. But it was just a little phase where I was kind of looking, I had my eye on these because they are pretty cheap and a lot of people actually like these here. They're pretty nice interior. You get a lot of cool, features and stuff. So I have to say there are a few gems out there, right? Like that are semi-affordable and have decent, performance and miles per gallon and stuff like that. So I thought the Jetta was kind of cool. And then the Mazda 3 and Honda Civic rounding it off. So these are basically the only cars you can get for under 30 grand. I'm not even kidding. Everything else is going to be way up there in price. And I think it's a combination of they kind of approve anyone and they get them to think like, hey, what's your monthly payment? Where do you want to be at? And then they give you these long terms and crazy interest rates to try and make it happen. And so people, try and get into more expensive cars than they should be buying. So like I have a video on that. I'll link that at the end. Like that's just crazy. The car payment, epidemic here is really bad. And combine that with cars are crappier than ever. It's a pretty wild storm happening over here. I would love to hear in the comments your experience with this, wherever you're watching from, of course. And if you could confirm, I still think for the most part, you guys do have, at least from most brands, like a cheaper, kind of simple, stripped out option for a lot of cars and trucks, whereas we just don't have that anymore. If you want like a cheap work truck, you have to buy an older used one because I love the simple trucks, right? That used to be reliable. I feel lucky I have the ones I have because they don't make those anymore. They only want to sell you these crazy overpriced trucks. And if you want an honest, dependable work truck with no tech in it, you just can't find it. And that's one example of how the automotive industry here has just gone totally crazy. So yeah, American car quality is at an all-time low, I feel like, and especially when you combine that with the higher prices, it's just kind of a crazy storm we're going through. I don't know how it's going to level out. I appreciate you watching. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And that being said, my name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.